Governments have done more than just enforce the law. They've bent it, broken it, and buried it when the truth threatened their control. Some of the most disturbing crimes in history were not only committed in the shadows, but sealed there, protected by vaults, revealed. Government cover-ups in true crime cases.
How I'm feeling. On one hand, I feel the heaviness and sadness that hundreds of thousands of students
You were never told about. Truth is fragile, but power is absolute. Throughout history, governments have done more than just enforce the law. They've bent it, broken it, and buried it when the truth threatened their control. Some of the most disturbing crimes in history were not only committed in the shadows, but sealed there, protected by vaults, redacted files, and silenced witnesses. What you are about to hear are not just stories of tragedy, but whispers of cover-ups, dark secrets deliberately erased from history. Tonight, we open the doors they tried to lock. We reveal the secrets they swore you would never know. This is Revealed. Case 1. The JFK Assassination, The Missing Pages. On November 22, 1963, the heart of America stopped beating in Dallas, Texas. President John F. Kennedy waved from his open limousine when shots rang out, his head snapping forward, Jacqueline Kennedy's screams echoing through Dealey Plaza. Within hours, Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested, branded the lone gunman, and paraded as the villain of history. But the story never fit. Eyewitnesses swore they heard shots from multiple directions. Doctors described wounds inconsistent with the official autopsy, and even the magic bullet theory defied all logic. Still, the Warren Commission declared the case closed. Decades later, declassified files hinted at CIA connections, shadowy figures on the grassy knoll, and intelligence warnings that were ignored. And yet, thousands of pages remain locked away, stamped classified, under the excuse of national security. 60 years later, America still doesn't know the full truth. Not because the answers don't exist, but because they've been hidden. Case 2, MK-Ultra, America's secret mind control. Beneath the Cold War paranoia of the 1950s, a program darker than fiction took root inside the CIA. It was called MK-Ultra. Ordinary citizens, students, prisoners, even hospital patients were used as human guinea pigs. They were drugged with LSD, strapped to chairs for days of sleep deprivation, forced into hypnosis, and electroshocked until their minds fractured. The goal was chilling, to unlock the secrets of brainwashing and create weapons out of human beings. But when the program was exposed in the 1970s, the CIA claimed innocence, saying most of the files had been accidentally destroyed. Only fragments survived, but they revealed suicides, shattered lives, and memories that could never be restored. Perhaps the most haunting case was Frank Olson, a government scientist who began asking too many questions. Days later, he fell 13 stories from a hotel window. Officially, it was suicide, but later exhumations suggested he was murdered before he ever hit the ground. MK-Ultra wasn't just a failed experiment. It was a crime against humanity, erased by those who carried it out. Case 3. The Waco Siege, Fire in the Ashes. In 1993, the sleepy town of Waco, Texas, became the site of one of the most infamous standoffs in American history. For 51 tense days, federal agents surrounded the Branch Davidian compound, led by a charismatic preacher named David Koresh. Inside were dozens of families, many of them children. Negotiations stretched on until April 19th, when the FBI sent in tanks and tear gas. Minutes later, the compound erupted in flames. 76 people died, burned alive, trapped, silenced. The official story? The Davidians lit the fire themselves. But survivors painted another picture. Tanks crushing walls, tear gas igniting fires, gunfire raining down. Later, hidden footage revealed that military-grade weapons had indeed been used that day, despite government denials. Evidence was sealed, questions left unanswered, and the ashes told no tales. Was Waco a tragic rescue gone wrong, or a massacre the government never wanted the world to see? Before we move to the next shocking case, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It helps us bring you more hidden stories, more secrets, and more truths that the world tried to erase. Now, let's continue. Case 4, the Black Dahlia. A case silenced. In 1947, Los Angeles awoke to horror. A young woman's body was discovered in a vacant lot, mutilated, drained of blood, and sliced with surgical precision. Her name was Elizabeth Short, but the press dubbed her the Black Dahlia. Police launched one of the largest investigations in history, but almost immediately, the case began to unravel. Evidence vanished, witness statements disappeared. Suspects, some powerful men with ties to Hollywood and even military intelligence, were quietly dismissed. Rumors swirled that Elizabeth had known things she shouldn't have, perhaps secrets left behind from World War II experiments. Instead of justice, her murder was buried under a growing pile of red tape. Over time, her name became a legend, her story sensationalized by movies and novels. But legends hide truth. And in this case, truth may have been deliberately erased. Case 5. The assassination of MLK Jr. Who pulled the trigger? April 4th, 1968. Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel, his voice still echoing from a speech the night before. "I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land." Seconds later, a rifle cracked through the silence, and King collapsed to the ground, fatally shot. The world mourned. James Earl Ray was quickly arrested and declared the lone assassin. But the story never satisfied the truth seekers. FBI files revealed King had been under intense surveillance, branded as a threat to national security. Wiretaps tracked his every move. Declassified documents showed plots to discredit him, to silence his influence in the civil rights movement. And decades later, in 1999, a civil jury reached a chilling conclusion. King's death was not the act of one man, but the result of a conspiracy involving government agencies. Yet the mainstream media barely reported it. Official history still points to a lone gunman, while the evidence points to something far darker: the assassination of a dream by the very institutions sworn to protect it. Case 6. Frank Olson, the scientist who knew too much. November 28, 1953. Frank Olson, a scientist working with the CIA, checked into a New York hotel room with colleagues. Days later, his body was found on the sidewalk 13 stories below. Officials said it was suicide, claiming Olson was unstable. But the truth was far more disturbing. Just days before his death, Olson had been secretly dosed with LSD as part of MK-Ultra. Friends described him as paranoid, terrified, whispering that he had seen things he could never unsee. Illegal experiments, mind control, torture programs. He had told his family he wanted to leave the agency, and then he was gone. When his body was exhumed decades later, forensic experts discovered blunt force trauma to his head, injuries inconsistent with a fall, suggesting he was struck before he ever left the window. The CIA quietly paid a settlement, but never admitted guilt. Olson's death was not just a tragedy, it was a message. In the world of secrets, silence is enforced, and those who try to speak don't survive. Some crimes are unsolved because the killer was clever. Others are unsolved because the killer was protected. For every redacted page, every sealed vault, every witness silenced, there lies a truth too dangerous to be admitted. From assassinations to secret experiments, from jungles of mass death to skies filled with unanswered questions, one theme remains constant. The government doesn't always protect the truth. It buries it. And what has been erased may be more terrifying than what we've been told. Because sometimes the loudest lie is silence. This was Revealed.